Hi, my name is Dev Randhawa. I'm Chairman and CEO of F3 Uranium. We are completely focused on the Athabasca on the west side. Our project is near NextGen's Arrow and FCU's RRR. We're about 12 kilometers away. We made a discovery called the JR zone. It's can't tell me pounds yet. We'll figure that out. But yesterday we announced 4 meters of 50% uranium. 4 meters of 50% uranium. That's an excellent hole. But that's why we're in the basin, because it's high grade and it's a very good jurisdiction for uranium.
I like that. If it's worth saying twice.
Yeah.
How many meters? 4 meters and 50%. That's astounding. It's one of the best holes we've heard for a long time, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to get Dave Talbot to send me a note on where it ranks worldwide.
Okay. It'll be up there. It'll be up there. Let's start with some friendly stuff. We're over here, conference next door, looks quite busy, energy transition on everyone's lips.
Right.
How's it been for you so far?
Really good. Like, I think, to have the big picture, having Meta, Amazon, everybody realizing, what we got, how many trillions of dollars going towards AI, that how are they going to do it without power? Mm-hmm. They need, and they're trying to go for clean power. So the problem is that the renewables game is up. Right. People have tried to prop up that, but unfortunately, it's not baseload power. It means you can't crank it up and down. That's huge. When it gets cold out, you can't tell the sun to shine more, and you can't tell the wind to blow more. So it's baseload power, and it's clean. So it's, for me, I've been in this business in 1996. The first time, it's a perfect storm for good. You've got the demand side keeps rising. Whether it was Bitcoin before, now it's AI. Demand for power keeps going up, and so much like places like China, they said they're permitting 100 reactors. And I think that works out to just China alone will need by 2035. It's not that far away. 100 million pounds. We only mine 150 in the world right now, so what about the U.S., which has even got more already? So where is this uranium going to come from? So I think it's starting to come together. Yeah. Unfortunately, hasn't quite trickled down to the equity. Same with gold. Gold maybe 2,700. Yeah. The juniors aren't reacting yet.
It's interesting. I think Australia's waking up to the renewables component. I think Rio, also Fortescue, one of the bigger companies in Australia, have said, actually, renewables is not going to do it for us. We're backtracking. We're walking that back. We need sustainable, regular, consistent energy as a baseline. So your point is well made. And I'm saying reality is now dawning, I think is the phrase.
It's a wake-up call.
It's a wake-up call. I will get onto the macro in a bit, but I've got to start with obviously the announcement yesterday. That's extraordinary. I think people are saying, these guys, they need the next discovery, Is this the beginning of a discovery?
Well, I think it's a discovery. The question is how big it can grow.
Right, okay.
So that's where we're at. And we've got this beautiful JR zone that just gets better. But the question is this is a blob of uranium. And what you want to see are pearls on a necklace. You want to see several blobs, right? And so the pressure is on us to find another blob.
Yeah.
So we've got the A1 conductor, the B1 conductor. We think you almost say 1A and 1B, whatever, but they're parallel. But so all the signs are there for another blob. Boron values are very high.
Okay.
People often ask how you find uranium. There's just certain boxes you got to tick. Yeah. And we've checked all of them, and now we've got this high boron number. So we think down there's something. We haven't found it yet.
Okay.
Way further down, we have something at 0.5%, which is, in our standards, low.
Yeah.
Around the world, it's very high. I mean, around the world, 0.1, 0.2 is normal. Whereas in Canada, if you're not 2%, it's not even worth looking at it. So when you get a hole like 50%, like we did yesterday, it's like, whoa, watch out. So it's a pressure's on us to find another blob of uranium further down.
Right.
And I think that would certainly ignite more M&A discussions.
Yeah, well, it's a game changer for you guys, and obviously we'll talk about M&A as well in a second. But how are you going to get after this thing? Have you got monies allocated to it? Is it already in the middle of a program?
Yeah, thanks to Red Cloud, Haywood, SCP, and Canaccord, we raised about $8 million not that long ago,
Yeah.
and that gives us drilling money through till the spring, all through the winter and everything else. We got money for that, plus another $18 million of hard cash. So we've got cash to do it. And obviously, if we find something, we will raise more money. But right now, the pressure's on us to find another blob of uranium. We're well aware of that.
Right, and what's this do for you? Like I've referenced it. I think people need this next blob as you go, and we'll stick with that. What's that do for you in terms of M&A? Does it make it easier?
It's much easier because people saying it's not just one zone.
Yeah.
Right? There might be, it's a system. We believe it's a system. We've been told by others it's a system. The question is we have to prove it's a system. We're not even going to do that is find two zones. Now, I think on its own, the JR zone is significant because it's, say, some people say it's 20 to 25 million pounds. So what does that mean? But it's the fact that it's, so close to, if Lee and NextGen build a mill, right? They just announced they're going to sell some 5 million pounds by 2029, I think. Start that process.
Okay.
And then if Paladin finishes their acquisition of FCU, someone's building a mill. So to me, from the time we make a discovery, and
Yeah.
it's about 10 years,
Yeah.
by that time, that mill will be built and running. So we'll have a place to feed it.
Yeah.
So one of the things you got to do economically is not just your pounds, is what's your shipping cost and what's it going to cost a toll mill. So I'm liking the fact that Lee or whoever Ian over at Paladin, they build a mill together or separately, I don't know, but we'll have a place to ship it. So those pounds, in my view, are more important because they're so
Right.
close. And the road there's a road that runs 365 days a year
Yeah.
that the Saskatchewan government built
Right.
many years ago for a French deposit called Clough Lake.
Yeah.
So they built that road. Our road goes right through our property. So we have transportation. So these pounds are more important than finding them in Northwest Territories, which means
Yeah.
you've got to ship it, build them. We don't have to build a mill, and we have a road that goes to it.
Okay. I get the kind of next gen component. Like, how important is the Paladin element in here for the district?
Well, obviously I feel for my friends over at FCU
Yeah.
that Paladin's got this water issue and the et cetera.
Yeah.
Ross is a dear friend. But that deal sounds like it's going to go through unless the government turns it down. I don't see the government turning it down. I think having Paladin in there is a good thing. They're a big boy. They can raise a lot of money to build a mill. My hope is that they come together, the two groups, and build
Yeah.
one big mill.
Yeah.
Because the future of the basin, in my view, remains in the West. Yes, you got MacArthur. Campbell can turn that on. But what has Campbell got after that? We got MacArthur, but right? And kudos for Campbell shutting down MacArthur. It reduced the supply of uranium and the price. It's one of the few times in the world you see a mining company shut down a mine that's economics and their stock goes up.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was less of the supply.
Yeah.
So being in the West, I think, is very important. That on the M&A basis, it makes it easier versus being in the East and
Yeah.
et cetera. So I think it'll help us a lot. To prove it's a system, I think you can have one more pod.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a great zone. That's nice. It's cute.
Yeah.
But now we need another one so that we can say it's a system.
Yeah.
Because it's a system. Because remember, we've got A1, B1, we've got A2, A3, A4. We got a lot of conductors.
Yeah.
It's a huge land package still.
It's obviously, Paladin's woes in terms of their last quarterly, etc. It kind of reminded me, it's tough. It's tough, right? Those are the guys who know what they're doing, and then
we
we've got a
can't
bunch
do
of
it.
guys in Athabasca who's starting a process. It shows you it's tough, and it kind of feels like there needs to be more M&A and needs to be more shared knowledge, and maybe, as you say, 1 mil maybe better than 2 mils.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the thing. People forget there's been no uranium in a big scale mine since the 70s.
Yeah.
70s. That's 55 years ago. That's half a century. So it's not that easy. If you look at all our friends in the States, I don't want to name them to embarrass anybody, but everybody has what?
Yeah.
Oh, we can't do it.
Yeah.
They put out some numbers. Oh, we can't do it. Put some more numbers out. Oh, we can't do it. Production is hard, and grade is king. And that's why I still believe the Athabasca is the place in the world, because you've got grades, you've got a political system in place to deal with important issues like First Nations issues, environmental issues. There's a system in place.
Yeah.
Whereas, has anybody in the U.S., one company, produced on time? Not one. Because I think the grades are low and there's this much harder. And also remember, ISR, you only get 70% of your deposit. Only 70%. And then you have to have that porosity and everything else. So I think production, like we just said, is very hard. And look what's happened at Honeymoon for Boss, where it's looked at everybody who was out there championing, we're going to be in production, and now they're not.
I think supplies, and again, we'll come to supply in a second. There's no disputing demand. That's there. We've got to stick with you though. So you've got money to get you through to spring. You'll see what that brings you. But you feel that obviously in a market like this, money is available when you need it to move things forward. But tell us what the end game is for you here.
For us,
Are we talking more mergers, more coming together?
I mean, I think we all got to accept what we're good at.
Right.
Uranium is found very deep.
Yeah.
So you have to have great geoscientists.
Yeah.
And we have, and I think, two of the best, if not the best, Ray and Sam. You got to remember, that's one thing we didn't talk about, is that Rick Rule calls people serially successful. And, you know, I ran into a fellow today, an analyst, and I said, when I first met you, were doing fission energy. He goes, yeah. I said, then we found that, sold that to Denison. Then we took that over here, now Paladin's buying it. We took the extra assets.
Yeah.
We took whatever was left off the table, the crumbs. The crumbs of Fission Energy became FCU for $1 billion. The crumbs off here have become $100 million. So I think at the end of the day, it's about a good technical team, and that's what they've got to do. If they produce, it's easier for me to go raise money, and they're doing it. I mean, that 4 meters of 50%.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. When I was doing some analysis on the uranium space, and what I saw is changing patterns last year, where you had a lot of entrants trying to come in, with jumping on the bandwagon sort of thing, but not a lot of people making discoveries, right? No. That's kind of what you're there.
That's all it is. And the thing is, if you look in the basin, you've got people who have found uranium, but it's 800 meters down. You found somebody with the closest surface, it's 1%. If somebody has to correct me, but other than Hurricane, which is an insanely great deposit, and Phil and the guys are doing other things, but that's their core. 50 million at ridiculous grades. After that, there's nobody else in the basin. I believe we're the only ones that have super high grade, 2.5% average, close to surface. We start on 200 meters, we start. It's easier to explore, easier to mine, and etc. So I think the JAR zone is very unique. And then you saw, like I said, the results, 4 meters of 50%. Show me where that is.
Yeah.
End of the day. And so it can prove that Ray and Sam know what they're doing.
The one drawback to Canada, Athabasca, in the minds of some retail investors, is the licensing, the time it takes to kind of get permits, to get it through from discovery through to production. In this new environment, I think it feels less woke, and a little bit more realistic about, if you're going to do this energy transition, it needs to move quicker. We need barriers out of the way. Agree. Do things the right way.
It is, because I think it was Rio, a CEO, that announced made an announcement that Canada has to clean up this process.
Right.
Right? And have to speed it up. You have to go through the process, but I'm not saying you need to be like Namibia and it's 1 year you're ready, but does it have to be 10?
Yeah.
Like, what is it you're going to learn in 10 years?
Yeah.
You can't learn in 1 year or 2 years.
Yeah.
So absolutely, Canada has to get its act together. You have to look at the environmental impact on that, the First Nations issues. They have to be respected. Once we do that, they should. But I think it was just actually funny you said that. Yeah. And right away, the Australian company, I think it was BHP out of Melbourne, whoever it is out of there, just said, "Hey, Canada, You got to catch up. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully, you know, the federal government was listening to that.
Yeah, politicians listening.
Sorry.
They talk.
What am I thinking?
They just talk. Okay, so well, congrats on the grades. I mean, insane grades. Well, I guess we'll hear more as you drill through the season. Let's come to that kind of supply thing, because I'm going to say Canada and America as one. North America, right? America needs 50 million pounds currently. It's going to increase. It's not producing a whole bunch. There's going to have to, and you know, talk of 25% tariffs to Canada doesn't help the conversation. How does that all kind of come together?
Well, I mean, I think first of all, as a friend, I'm a fan of Donald's policies. He's a very flawed man, we all know. But as I said to you earlier, every CEO I know is flawed. We're human beings, but I don't think he's going to put 25% on. But as a way to get Trudeau. Oh my gosh, he just happened to fly down 3 days later to Florida to meet with him.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's just a fluke.
Yeah.
So I think it was to get the attention of Mexico and Canada. At the end of the day, he knows those tariffs are only going to cost consumers more. But I think it was a way to get people to the table.
Right.
And sure enough, you saw that Mexico, whoops, okay, we're not going to send any more illegals that way. The country of Mexico stopping it. So I think it's more of I don't see that 25% happening.
Okay.
Might be 5-10%. Canada can handle that. But I think it was just to get Justin Trudeau on a plane, and he did. It worked.
So it's going to, okay, well, let's see what happens, right? I agree. It certainly catches the attention. But doesn't get away from the problem that the US is not producing a lot of its own. There's a lot of companies, there's a few ISR companies, and there's when we went and saw a few this summer, but it's not a whole bunch of beans, right?
So how much got produced? I keep asking everybody, and listen, I run Strathmore.
Yeah.
But the problem is that people complain about Canada being slow. Really? Why don't we look at the U.S. and see how the permitting is going there? The reality is the industry has not seen any serious production since the 70s. The 70s. That's 70 years ago. I mean, people that were doing I remember once. I went, this is in it was like 2000 or something, we're looking at it, and back in 2005 in Strathmore, the old, and we wanted to get we'll fill out some forms to get a permit. And the lady says, we don't have the permit, we don't have the letters anymore. What, nobody's coming here, she says, for 30 years. Those forms, we don't have the forms anymore. So that's how much of a change the regulators have to do. They got to catch up too.
Yeah.
So when company after company revises their production numbers, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Because production is hard.
Yeah.
That's why we'll stick to the exploration game.
Right.
And let the big fish mine.
Okay, so we know where you're at, where the company's at for sure. And like, I don't want to go and dive into China and Kazakhstan and where all that heading east west, all that bifurcated market thing. The market at the moment seems kind of paralyzed in terms of indecision. Trump has won. People should know what the lay of the land is. They know his policies. He's very pro-nuclear. But people fear to tread. They're still not moving. The price isn't moving. I'm not seeing contracting. What's going on?
I'm with you. I'm confused as why things move so slow. But one thing I've always noticed, it seems like there's individuals with rubber band going back, and people then it just goes. We need better. The key to it is spot and yellow cake. When they are treating it a premium, they sell that and they buy any off loose. So I think that's what drives it more. If you think about what Peter Grosskopf, thought of, what a genius idea, take it from Denison, boom, steroids, and it's gone forward. So Peter's done an exceptional job. So I know somebody else is handling it now. I think John's doing a great job there. But we need the spots of the world, yellow cakes, to trade at premiums, and then that's the bellwether. If you just want to know where we are, just find out if it's trading at a discount or a premium. When it's a premium, the bar price will move up. But you also remember that utilities are like governments. They hate risk. They do not want any risk. So they do everything they can. And so that part of it is not thinking ahead. If you and I know winter's coming, we don't wait till the middle of winter to buy a truck. We buy it before winter comes. But that's not how governments work. because they don't feel the pain of the cost.
Yeah.
They're trying to protect their jobs. You got to remember it's a very bureaucratic system amongst utilities.
They're not, sorry, someone threw this at me and I'm like, I have no idea. They're not sitting around waiting for Trump to get into power, sort out the Russia-Ukraine situation, and then normal service resumes. Because, sanctions are in place. Enrich, in terms of on the
But they're in
Richmond
place,
side.
but not acting on. They gave
They
so
got the
much-
exemptions, I know.
But they're the size of a truck. A truck could drive through these
Yeah,
loopholes.
yeah.
So there has been no sanctions.
But I know. Well, I've heard both sides of that argument, but it's like that's not a kind of the kind of great white hope here, is it?
Yeah, but I gotta remember, the industry could never handle a true sanction.
Yeah.
40% of the processing is done there. You
Yeah.
can't. You can replace 4%, maybe 8. You're not going to replace 40. So I don't believe those exemptions really mattered. It was again posturing. How do you tell a politician's lying when they open their mouth? Same thing. I don't.
But Putin's now kind of responded. He said, "Okay, we're that's it. No more supply."
But that's just more posturing.
Is that more posturing?
It's more Trump saying 25%.
God, I hate politics.
Just get, and that is a problem with
It's
our
hard to
industry.
read.
But our problem with our industry is that it is not regulated, but the impact of government on our lives is huge, whether we like it or not.
Yeah,
It's huge.
yeah. Okay, so we don't know. We're going to have to wait till January to kind of find out, how the land lies.
Yeah, I think there'll be a meeting between Putin, Zelensky, and Trump, and we'll figure. I personally think there's going to be a cease war. I think the fighting will stop between Ukraine
Right, and does that help the nuclear side?
Settles it down.
Nuclear energy side of things and uranium side, because you're talking about this sort of, taut elastic band ready to go. But I don't know what the release mechanism is. That's the problem.
And I don't, and that's where, the old saying, control what you control. I've never worried about anything. I've always worried about making sure we got the best people, put the right tools in their hand, which is money, and let them go do their job. We have F3 my view, is goodest team in the industry.
Yeah.
Nobody else has found 2 deposits before. We have found 3. So if you're going to bet on somebody, you want Michael Jordan to have the ball in his hand or the Shaq from the free line. It's just, you're going to give it to Jordan for a free throw versus Shaq. So I'd rather give the money to Ray and Sam than somebody who says Dave, because it's less geology than other minerals in the basin, because everything's so far deep. But you need good geoscientists.
But you've also got though. They're good at what they do. What you've got to do is maximize that value. Right now, I think a lot of developers are. And I'll put you in the story. Explore early stage developer, right? Because you've got a discovery there already. Is how do you move the stock now to get a uplift on a premium on a higher number versus what I was seeing in the market at the moment is people are getting premiums on quite a low base. It's like, well, that sucks, right? So what do you need to do to kind of get the market to recognize what you've got?
Well, I think what we did yesterday, punching out a hole 4 meters at 50% was a good start. The stock went from 23 to 28, to high as 29 today. Then that's one. But the other thing is, the big thing will be for our stock to double from here, find another pod.
Right.
If we find another pod,
Get a pod, you
we're off
golden.
and running. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll let you go and do that then.
Thank you.
Off you
We'll
go.
do it. It's up to Ray, but just give them some money.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dev. Absolutely appreciate your
Thank you.
time today. Thank you.
Thank you.